Hello everyone, and welcome to Debonair Cyber. My name is Devin, and in today's video we're going to be continuing down the intro to Red Team track in Hack the Box. This next machine, called 2Million, is a pretty special one. For those of you that don't know, it used to be the case that you had to actually hack your way in to be a member of Hack the Box. This machine is actually a complete recreation of that process with a little bit extra on the tail end. So I'm really excited to dive into this one. With that, let's go. Alright, and with all of that out of the way, I think we're ready to get started here. We've got our machine pulled up, 2Million. IP address 10.10.11.221. We'll click to copy that and bring it over into our virtual machine. First thing we need to do though is get connectivity with the environment. We're going to cd into our Hackbox and VPN directories, sudo open VPN, and my lab file. You can get yours from Hack the Box if you haven't already. We'll enter that sudo password and we can see our internal IP pop up in the top right in Cali. Okay, we'll open a new tab here. Back out of this, and we want to make a folder structure for this machine. So make dir, use the P flag to specify multiple directories at the same time. We'll call this one 2Million and nmap. cd into both of those. And we'll kick off a quick nmap scan. All ports. We'll use the capital T4 to make that a little bit faster, and we will specify the machine IP. Alright, so pretty quickly we get this back and we only have 2 ports open. Pretty easy. We'll do another quick scan here, sudo nmap ports 22 and 80. We'll do some normal scripts, service detections, and we will output to all file types here, and we'll call those 2Million. Once again, we'll put in that machine IP, enter that sudo password, and while that one is running, we'll go ahead over here to Firefox and begin some manual enumeration. Okay, we can see here immediately that the host name is going to come up, 2million.htb. We will have to put that into our etc hosts file. What we can see also here, same thing. Again, we'll do echo the machine IP and the number 2Million. You can see it up in the top as well as in the nmap scan here. 2million.htb, and we will pipe that into sudo t tac a. Make sure you're adding that so that you don't completely overwrite your etc host file. etc hosts, and just for a quick sanity check, we can tail that out. etc hosts, make sure we got everything in here we need. 10.10.11.221 2Million looks good, and we can come back up here and refresh. Another thing we can do as well, now that we have that host name put in correctly, is redo this nmap scan, and maybe we can get some different detections back from it. But now we see all of these other pages about FAQ join. Looks interesting. Ready to become a member? If you believe what you have what it takes to proceed, click the button below and try to hack the invite process. This is exactly what we want to do. Feel free to hack your way in, and it's telling us we need an invite code and we want to sign up. So right now this doesn't really seem to be giving us much. We could come in here and maybe fuzz some for some directories on the end of this. One thing that we can do though is come in here and look at the page source. Alright, that's tiny. I'll make this bigger. And we're just going to dig around in here for a minute. Alright, we can see here at the bottom of this page source that we have a function here on this button that is going to submit a post request to an API endpoint, invite verify. And we can see here if this response returns a response of 200 the response is a success, and that the message is invite code is valid. This is all coming from this API endpoint here, that it will store the invite code in local storage and send us to the register endpoint. We also see this script here, this invite API script. We can click on this and we can actually open this in a new tab. Okay, we can see this long script here. What we can do, take this and put it into something a little bit easier. Oops. Control A, C to copy, bring it back in here. And it doesn't make it much easier to read, but we can definitely tell that this is some form of obfuscated JavaScript. So with that, we can bring this over into a search. Let's just search for, well, kind of giving myself away here, deobfuscate JavaScript, and we can bring it over here into DE4JS. This is a JavaScript deobfuscator and unpacker. So we can bring this script, we'll copy AC again, and paste that code in. And once we have that pasted, we can see it come up in the bottom, but this is still pretty heavily obfuscated. We can just auto decode, and here we go. So we can see here, now that this code is deobfuscated, that there are two functions buried inside this code. One, to verify the invite code. We saw this earlier in this invite verify, and another to make an invite code. This is the one that we actually want to dig further into, because we need to first make an invite code before we can verify that it is a valid one. So once again, we're looking for a post request in JSON format to this API endpoint. So now that we're back in the terminal, I want to use a tool called curl to make a URL request to this API endpoint. This makes it a little bit easier. We can pipe it through another tool called JQ that will allow us to kind of prettify the JSON output that we're expecting to get from the API endpoint that we need to make that request to. So what we can do is use the help menu in curl to determine how we need to actually make a post request. As we remember, we need, that's the type that we need in the make invite code function. Back over here in our terminal, we can see that we can use the capital X to specify a request method to use. All right, so with that, we will curl X HTTP 2Million. We'll use the fully qualified domain name, and we still have that API endpoint. Whoops, we need to specify the post method after the X. Okay, now, like I said, we can pipe that through JQ to prettify this a little bit. Okay, we do see a status of 200 success. We kind of expected those with the other stuff that we found here. So now we can see that in real time, the 200 and response success are coming back in our terminal, which is great. We have the data here, which looks interesting. It may be like a foreign language, but then we have this enc type. This may stand for an encoding. And ROT13, you may know what that is. Data is encrypted. We should probably check the encryption type in order to decrypt it, is the hint that is provided. So what we can do here, bring this over into a fun tool called CyberChef. If you're not familiar, you should really come in and play around with this a little bit. It's fantastic for this type of thing. We will copy this data string. We can see the output here, and we can drag from this side into the recipe section to begin to decode this. So we know that that this is some kind of ROT13, and that it is the data is encrypted. Then we need to check the encryption type, and all we have to do is search over here, and we can see the first one that comes up, ROT13. In order to generate the invite code, make a post request to API v1 invite generate. So this is very easy. Now that we have the bones of our request set up, we can come over here and just paste that in. Oops, no double slashes. And here we can see we have our invite code. We can still see though that this is encoded. This one though, the dead giveaway on it is the equal sign on the end. This is fairly almost always indicative of a base 64 encoding. We can copy the, or we can paste that in there, and this is going to look like absolutely nothing right now. We can take this one out and put in from base 64. Actually, there we go. And we can see now that this looks more like an invite code that we would expect. Copy, bring this back over into our invite code section, paste it in, and now we are in our registration field. We can come in here, make our username, Debonair Cyber, email, dcyber at 2Million. Doesn't really matter what you put in here. .htb, password, and we'll register. Don't save passwords. And we can see this brings us to an old recreation of the original Hack the Box UI. Alright, after digging around through this pages a little bit, we find ourselves here on the access page. This is all the way down here at the bottom in the labs section, where you would normally come in to download your OpenVPN file. But in this one, we can go to download, and it will give us an OVPN file just like normal. It does make me wonder though where this OVPN file is coming from. If we fire up Burp Suite, it would be able to tell us. Alright, we're back here. I have my Burp Suite fired up. I have my proxy ready to go. And I'm going to first turn the intercept on, and then we will download the connection pack. We can see here once again that this is making a GET request to the lovely API user VPN generate. So that makes me wonder if we might be able to learn a little bit more about what this API is actually capable of. We've made several calls to the API at this point. It may be worth fully enumerating what types of calls are available to us. So we'll come back over here into the terminal and see if we can just curl the very first section. I just want to see what API brings back. So curl x post HTTP, just like this. Okay. We'll add a V for that to be a verbose. And we can see this method is not allowed. Okay. let's take the post portion of that out. Okay, completely sent off. 401 unauthorized. This is probably telling us that, hey, we need to give some form of authentication. Luckily, we can see whenever we've already tested the button, we know that it works, but we can see here that it's passing our session ID through the cookie parameter, and if we provide this through the command line, we should have access to the API itself. And this is pretty easy to do here. We can just cookie and paste in that entire PHP session ID that we just copied from Burp Suite. And we can see we get a 200 OK. Connection host 2Million left intact, and we get version 1 of the API. Okay. We can start to play around with this a little bit. V1. Okay, here again we get a whole bunch of stuff that we want to send through JQ to prettify this. That's much easier to read. So we can see here now that we've this one, the V1 is the one that we just did, route list. This is going to give us this list of API calls that are available. We've already used the how to generate. We've used the generate, verify. We haven't used the auth. We have used VPN generate because when we tested the button, that went through. We haven't used regenerate or download. These are the two post requests that we came across earlier, and we can see an entirely new subsection here of admin API calls. Admin auth, admin VPN generate, and settings update. So right off the bat here, if we wanted to, just as a sanity check, we could check this admin auth to make sure that we are not actually running as an admin for some reason. Whoops, let's not double there. As expected, we do get a false flag here. And just like before, we can run down the list here. Now keep in mind this is a post request, so we will have to change that parameter in our command. But we can move down the list here to the VPN generate to see if we might be able to generate an admin VPN file. So we'll paste that in and change this to a post request, and we see here that we get this 401 unauthorized, probably because we're not running as an admin. So one more left to go into this API admin settings update, and this one is a put request, but we may be able to update user settings from there. Whoops. So we'll put this in. And change from a post request to a put request. Okay, we don't get the 401 this time. We do get the 200, and it tells us danger invalid content type. This is most likely expecting for it to be a in JSON, so we can just tell it, hey, that's what we're going to give it. So we can redo this command and put in a new header and give it exactly what it wants. Content type application JSON. Okay, once again, danger, missing email parameter. So we will once again give it exactly what it is looking for. In this command, I've put in the data field. We start out with single quotes because these curly brackets are special characters. We want to kind of escape those, use them as strings. And we're going to put in the email is equal to test@2million.htb, close out with curly brackets. And this is just JSON formatting. Once again, we're piping the N through that JQ, and we'll click enter. A missing parameter is admin. Okay, so we come in here and add this is admin parameter and set it to 1, as often the case with these. We've seen several times before, again, with these responses that they're using 1s instead of trues or falses. So a 0 would probably be a false and a 1 would be true. So, okay, we're going to bring this into the command here. Email not found. Okay. So from here, it looks like we have all the parameters set correctly. What we can do, instead of using a test at 2Million, we can put in the email that we used to register. ID 13, username Debonair Cyber is admin is now set to true. So now if we come back through all these post requests to the one where we generate a VPN, we get to run through the same process. Alright, so we've gone through this entire process now of enumerating exactly which parameters we needed to make this request go through. We can see that the data field does need the username parameter, so we put that in. In my case, it was Debonair Cyber. And we can see that we get a certificate back like normal, like we would expect to get from a VPN file. We will be able to copy all this down and put it into a file and use it exactly like we would be able to with the OpenVPN file that we're using currently in this other tab here. That's not exactly what we want to do though, which makes me think that there may be something else to this. It also may be the case if we think about how these VPN files are generated, that it could be using some kind of PHP function, with this being on the admin side, that would be kind of lax on the filtering. So it makes me wonder if we might be able to do some command injection in this curl command. So instead of putting in my real username here, we can do a test once again. And inside those quotes, put some other command that we want to inject. And we can see that we do, at the bottom of this, get the UID of www.data, meaning that this ID command was successfully injected. Now that should get your wheels turning. If we do indeed have command injection, that means that we can most likely get a reverse shell back. What I like to do is go to rev shells, and of course I have to disable my proxy and try again. We can go through this whole process. Okay, so I set this up for a bash one-liner. I'm looking for a bash shell. You can change that here if you would like to. 10.10.14.3 at 4444. We will copy this command down. Before we can really put this into the command injection, we do need to doctor it up a little bit so that we can ensure that it will run. So we can echo this command that we've just generated here into base 64, get our base 64 encoding, and then we can run that through the ID command, and we can say echo this string, pipe that into base 64, decode, and then pipe that into bash. Now remember before you fire this off, you do need to set up a netcat listener, LVMP 4444 in my case, because that's what I put into my rev shell generator. And we will fire away. We can see that it hangs here, that it doesn't really complete, which is a good sign. Go and check for our shell. and we are running as www data. Doesn't seem like from here our work is quite done. Yes, we do see here in the HTML directory there is an environment file that we have read access for, so we can cat this out. And we have here database username admin and super duper pass 123. So we do have at least a password. We're not entirely sure that the username is going to be the exact same. We can cat out the Etsy hosts our Etsy password file and see that we do have an admin user, and that this admin user has a home and bin bash folder. So with all that, ssh admin at 2million.htb. Yes, not yours. And we can paste that super duper password that we found. And we successfully get into the box as admin. You can cat out your user.txt. Alright, so before we get too carried away here, I do want for us to go ahead and copy this. We're going to put this into a new file so we can save our creds. We got admin, and we're going to paste that super duper pass in just so we have it for our notes. We'll save this into hack the box 2million creds txt. Cool. Alright, we can move on from here. So we have SSH access to the box. We have our user flag. Now, a lot of times it's pretty easy, and I'm guilty of it as well, just letting all this stuff pass completely unread, this boilerplate type information. But if you pay attention here, you can see that this user has mail. And we can actually read this from the file system through var mail. In the var mail directory, we can see that we have our username admin, that we have read, we actually own this, so we can cd into admin. Excuse me, it's a file, cat admin. Very important to pay attention here. You do not have the D flag. It's not a directory. We can read this from chat to admin, cc goblin with another username, 2 more usernames if we need them at some point. Working as fast as you can. A few serious Linux kernel CVEs. That one, an overlay fs fuse, looks nasty. Okay. So if they're worried about that one, it might be something worth looking into. And we find ourselves here on this CVE 2023-0386 from Pucky Style. Says that there's a flaw found in the Linux kernel. Execution of set UID file with capabilities was found in Linux kernel overlay fs subsystem. Apparently it really is as easy as makefile and start 2 terminals. Enter this in the first one, enter this in the second one. Effect, privilege escalation. Effect, win. So we can copy this, bring it back into our terminal here, back into our own machine. Git clone, not clone. And we can actually use scp recursive CVE, and we want to put that into admin at 2million.htb in the, we can go in the home directory, and win is what we can call that. Enter that super duper password. Copy and paste that in there. And we can see that it'll put all those files over there for us. Love a good secure copy. Works over SSH. And we can see that goes through successfully. Move back over into our home directory here to see that we have our Win directory. Now that we're in this, we should just be able to make all and start our terminals here. We can set this up before we do that by just going in and doing another SSH admin at 2Million. Still have that copied in. CD into Win. We have all our files here. Cool. Let's begin with make all. That looks like it went okay. And then we can use this first command in the first terminal. We can see that this is going to hang here for a minute. And we will use this second command in the second terminal. Exploit success. To run a command as administrator, use root, sudo command, cman sudo for details. ID, we are root. CD into the root directory. Whoops. And grab your root.txt. There's also this thankyou.json. And we can see if we were to cat this out, this is a URL encoded string. So let's take all of this, copy it, and we still have our cyber chef up. That is a flashbang, I apologize. We can get rid of this. URL. Decode. Okay, hex data. Okay, what if we put in hex here? From hex. Okay, so now we have a list of things going on here. We need to XOR, use hack the box as the encryption key, and it's base 64 encoded as well. Okay, this did take a little bit of playing around with. You do have to take the quoted stuff out of the second one like this and run it that way, because it'll mess up the base 64 if you try to do it without removing that stuff. Fun fact. Ask me how I know. So here you get this gratitude message from the Hack the Box team, and I'll let you go and do the box for yourself and you get to read that. But I think that's going to wrap up today's video. This machine is a lot of fun. Being someone that came to Hack the Box a little bit later, they had already updated. I didn't have to hack my own way in, and I heard the story, and I'd heard the story from some people that had actually gone through this process, and I thought it was like the coolest thing ever that you had to hack your way into the platform. So I'm so glad that I got to actually have this experience as well. And I'm glad that you get to also have this experience, because it is a lot of fun and showcases the rich history that Hack the Box has. And I hope that they continue to produce boxes like this and continue to challenge us in new and different ways. If you're enjoying the content here, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And see you in the next one.